Hi guys and welcome to Motorscotty, and welcome to a brand new car on my channel, my 2010 Jaguar XF-S. I've had this car since September 2020 and it's been my daily car ever since, and now it's our only family car. I've never made any YouTube videos about it because I thought there wasn't much interest or much sense to put any content on it. But now I've decided that there's a couple of things I want to go through, and I want to share this on YouTube. If you've been following on Instagram, you've seen this car a couple of times here and there. But now let me give you a tour around this car and give you a little bit more detail on what this actually is. As I said, this is a 2010 Jaguar XF-S diesel V6 portfolio. So if you're from overseas in North America or maybe even other places in the world, you might be quite surprised because they didn't sell the diesel versions of Jaguar and Land Rover in every country, as far as I know, not in North America. Being a 2010 model year car, this is a pre-facelift car. You can see it in the front. You still have the headlights that kind of go slightly upwards here. The facelift model years, the headlight goes a little bit down here like this and has integrated LED daytime running lights. This one doesn't have daytime running lights from the factory, but it has bike xenon high intensity discharge headlights. And also in the back you can see that the facelift, like, it differs a little bit from the facelift. If you look at the back, like the facelift model years exhaust tips are kind of oval. This is more, has a bit of a trapezoidal shape. I don't know what the word is, kind of more angular. And you can see also that the headlights, it took me a while to see the difference to spot it, but the taillights of the facelift actually have this kind of filled in as well, and have a different, just slightly different back. The mirrors, however, are different on this 2010 compared to the 28 and 29 model year. I'm not sure if that changed, because in the beginning the first ones had this style of mirror with the indicator just a bigger one just here, and then they switched over to this thinner line. This one has the azure outside paint, 19-inch wheels. So when I bought it, this one had different wheels on. The previous owner, which actually was the first owner, was living in Switzerland. He was a German doctor, I believe, and had this from new. So I'm technically the second owner, and he took really good care of it. Had it serviced by Jaguar once a year. Drove quite a bit, and I bought it in 2020. It was 10 years old. It was actually 11 years old, because this was first registered in mid 2009, but as a 2010 model year. And I bought it with 108,000 kilometers. Now I have just over 52. We're actually going to have a look inside and have a look. You can see it's a 10 interior. The exact code is over here. The trim cell and JKA for the paint means azure blue. And you can see, switch it on. I love on these Jaguars actually you have the vents that go up like this. They didn't do this on the facelift, on the brand new version. This is the X250 and the X260. They, if I'm not mistaken, they just kept this on the outside. Yeah, I'm gonna just shut the door for the noise to cancel. So it has 154,457 kilometers, and it's in really good condition. You can see, like, everything is, it's the portfolio edition, so it has the heated and cooled seats. Like, you have the infotainment system, which is pretty much outdated for these days, but it still works. It has sat nav that works on DVDs, which is also quite outdated, but you have different DVDs down here in the back, in the boot or in the trunk, whichever you may prefer to say. So whichever country you go, if you're in Europe and go through different countries, you have the DVDs in here. If I can open this, oops, you need to unlock this, press the button and get it out, and then you have the different countries written on here. It's almost a classic now, given the change of technology in terms of infotainment system, and even in terms of being a diesel powered car. Like, diesel cars, after being praised in the early 2000s in Europe for their particle filters, are now the black sheep, and well, gas powered cars are slowly on their way out. I wouldn't say completely on their way out, but you can see a strong trend to electric cars, especially here in Switzerland. Anyhow, I'm not going to go into electric versus fuel internal combustion engine powered car debate. Back to the car. It has the Alcantara headliner, really nice, and given the fact that this car is now 14 years old, it's in perfect shape. Like, it's our everyday car. It has maybe a couple little stains which can be cleaned. You can see the child seat in the back, and obviously having a tan interior car with a child is maybe not the best choice. And this also gives you an idea that this won't be remaining our family car for too much longer as our son gets older, and also for practicality reason, with a sedan or saloon shaped car is not the most practical with children. What I did, so you have a really big boot or trunk, and what I did buy in the beginning is actually an aftermarket rubber mat for around about 40 euros to put in, just because, you know, you have the buggy and everything and all this stuff. I don't mind. You can just throw it in, because then the actual underside stays clean. Underneath you have a spare wheel. There's an actual spare wheel, the big battery, and I also installed a C-Tech charging adapter, which I don't really use that much because there's no need to. We've had this car, like, we used to have two cars. My wife had one and me, and then was it last year? A year ago we sold the other car because there wasn't really much need to have two cars, and now we can share this one. So this is being driven every single day. Let me give you another look of the interior from the rear. Obviously the car is not detailed right now. I just wanted to give you a realistic view of the state of the car at the moment. Car seats is clipped in with Isofix, which well, the baby seat, child seat, which is really good. You still have the actual seat belt just in case, but that's not really doing anything. I just put a cloth underneath not to damage just the leather that's underneath. Someone once told me it's a great idea to keep the seat in place, but that really wasn't the intention. I just didn't want to scratch the leather. The seat is held in place by Isofix clips down here anyways. So the lower trim versions have a net here, and this is the portfolio one, which has this really thick leather pouch pocket. It's really good. Same thing on the driver's side, sorry, on the left side. And everything, like I do treat the whole leather like once a month with some leather treatment. Just even though it's our daily car, I just try to keep this in clean shape, because let's be honest, if you have a leather interior car with your kids, it's easier to clean. One of my sisters has a cloth interior car, and it's gone through 3 boys, and it absolutely stinks in there because the cloth just absorbs everything, and unless you go in with a cleaning Hoover, whatever, steam cleaner, you're not going to get all of that out. And this, you can just, whatever you have, food stuff, you can just swipe it off, treat the leather, and you're good to go. One thing you might have noticed is the sunshade in the rear. You have actually, I like this old school. In a way it is old school. It's so classic because most cars nowadays just have tinted windows in the rear, and the rear window, I mean the actual rear window, not just the door windows. They have tinted windows from the factory, and this is still a shade that you can just lift and let down by the press of this button. Press once, goes down, press it again, goes up. So cool. Again, being the portfolio version, it has the Bowers & Wilkins sound system, the heated but also cooled seats. You can see the cooled seat option by seeing the perforated leather. So if you go back to your Main menu with the climate controls. You have heated seats, and this is only for the front. Oops, you have the heated seats. Oh, it doesn't run now because the car's not running. I'm just gonna start the car. Start button pulsating, and like all the Jaguars from that area, we have this shifting gear knob. Well, this rotating gear knob comes up, and then you can go up and heat your seats. Funny thing is, you press it once, then it goes on level 3, and then you have to go down again to decrease the heated seats. And if you go all the way down and a little bit further, you can go to cool seats, and that's when it eventually will blow cool air through the bottom and the back part of the front seats, or whichever seat you select. Electronic parking brake, nothing fancy about that. You have a dynamic mode engaged, which shifts basically a little bit earlier. Everything is a bit crisper, and you can switch it back off. You have dynamic stability control. I think that's what it means, DSC. You can press this and switch it off. So basically the ESP and the ABS is deactivated, and then you have the winter mode, which doesn't want to work now because there's probably stuff inside. Buttons a bit. That's interesting. Well, I didn't expect that. Well, it goes to show that I really need to clean this car thoroughly. Once you shut the car down, everything rotor knob goes down, and the climate controls, also the vents, go down. Steering wheel is also heated. We just switch on the ignition again. You can see there's a button here. It's basically the same setup as the Jaguar XK of my mother, of which I made a presentation video also a few years ago, as she was getting ready to sell it, and I did that video to advertise it. And I know it's gone to a good home because it's been calling me once a year ever since. Storage compartments here in the center console. You have your center console here with USB and iPod. Back in the days, iPod was a big thing. I'm sure even Apple, I'm not really an Apple person. Even Apple probably has long changed from this connector, but it's already kind of a museum piece in that way. Modern classics, as I say. Cup holder, 2 decent ones here, and a bigger, deeper one in here. And then we have the awkward thing that they thought they might be innovative and modern back in 27 or 28, with the glove compartment opening. Try opening the glove compartment here. Like, see this here? This is all flat. This is not just a button. You have to hold your finger here, and if you're lucky, it will open. So if you're in a hurry, it won't just open. Try different fingers. I know for a fact that when they did the facelift model, this one, they probably got so many complaints that they changed back to a regular button here. If you look up at a facelift model from 2012 to 2015, they all have a proper button here. And I could just understand everyone getting mad at this because, see, now it worked. So your documentation in here. Then here on top on the dashboard, one known flaw for the pre-facelift XFs was that they would start, especially if you're in warmer regions, the leather would start to kind of shrink up here and bubble up, and so has it done on this one, unfortunately. The problem was that, or is, that the leather wasn't wrapped around, or isn't wrapped around the edge of the dashboard and then stitched up so it would hold. This one I've already taken apart. Like, I can make a video about this. I didn't take extensive video shootings. I probably mostly did pictures, but I can make a video and explain how to take the whole dash apart and take it actually out if you're interested. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. I've taken it all out. I kind of re-glued everything and it held in place, but given the fact that with the heat the leather has shrunk, it's just not going to hold if nothing's holding it back on the other side. So unless you recover the whole dash and get fresh new leather, or I don't know if it's possible to actually just stitch on some leather onto the existing bit of leather here, but you can see how it kind of shrank and how it's coming out here at the edge. Why did I buy this car? Because I was looking for a somewhat cheap winter car back then, and I ended up buying this Jag, which is the top of the line spec XF, and I got such a good deal on this one. I paid in September 2020 for this car, who had 108,000 kilometers exactly. I paid 6,800 Swiss francs. I'll kind of blend in here somewhere what that means in euro and in dollars for back then. But it was a really good deal because all the others in similar condition and mileage and age were like 13 to 15,000. And I had set myself a budget for 5,000, and I went over it. But this one was in great shape. Well, it was so cheap because the previous owner had left. According to, I got it through a middleman who we sold him to. So I'm technically the third owner, but still the guy just kept it for a few weeks and then, or a few days, and then sold it to me. But the guy who had it before, the original owner, he apparently had left the country. He went back to Germany, and he had left the country, and the car was just sitting in Switzerland for about a year. And then he got rid of it, and this car had been sitting for a year. So that's why also I got it so cheap, because you never know what happens with the car when it sits so long. Also the fact that it's a diesel, it's a Jaguar. They're known for, like costing a lot in maintenance if you bring it to the dealer, which is true. And it's a saloon sedan. Like, no one really wants those these days, at least not in Switzerland. Everyone wants at least an estate, like what do you call them, a wagon in America, or an SUV, more likely. That's what they prefer. And also people in Switzerland want four-wheel drive cars. They just like, this is a rear-wheel drive car, which is even worse than just having a front-wheel drive car. So all the things most people in this country don't like, which I prefer, because I just like either coupes or sedans, saloons, and this just speaks to me. Obviously, having a history with Jaguar with my my family, I love Jags. I love these Jags, and I've been to the Jaguar factory in 2014. I saw the new X260 XF on the line, and also the F-Type. I just missed the XK because that was just finished. Anyhow, I'm a big fan of Jaguar and their cars. Not all of them, but in general, I'm a big fan of Jaguar and Land Rover also. They're kind of together. I've never had a Land Rover, but mostly Jags. And now I have this one, and we will probably not keep it for too much longer unless I just get it to keep it for myself, and my wife will get the next one, which will be a more family-centered car. But let's give you the rest of the tour and what I plan on doing with this over the next couple of weeks and months. Here's a quick look under the hood. Obviously, as I said, it's the 3-liter V6 diesel, 275 horsepower bi-turbo engine. Very powerful. It's like driving a locomotive, actually. It's quite, it's a bit heavy, but it's really made for long distance. If you drive long distance, we've been all over Europe, and it just drives so smoothly and comfortable and quiet. It has so much torque, and it's just zipping on fuel if you're just on the motorway, on the freeway. And I've done the oil changes and filter changes and all that stuff myself over the last couple of years. I did bring it to Jaguar in the very beginning because I just wanted them to go over it when I bought it, and they didn't find anything. Only the rear brakes had developed a bit of rust from sitting, so they had to change them because it wouldn't come off from just driving a bit. So they had to change it for the car to pass the biannual inspection. Otherwise you can't register it, and that was a bit of a shame. And I regret not asking them to put the pads and the discs leave them in the car, because they were almost new and I could have reused them later. Anyhow, that's that. So I've done the oil changes and filter changes myself so far, and I've also replaced the water pump which was leaking. So I haven't done a video on this, unfortunately. Then I didn't have the time, and I wasn't in the mindset of doing any videos on this car at the time, but that's what I've changed. So far I have to say this car is actually pretty good to work on given the space I have at home. But I'm presenting you this car because there's a few videos I'm going to publish on this car. First of all, the usual oil change, oil filter change, cabin air filter change. That's the usual standard maintenance on this car. Second will be a gear oil change, transmission oil change, and filter change. That's why I'm a little bit disappointed I couldn't get the quick check on this car, so I need to look into different options about either getting extensions for the quick jack or maybe lifting it from sideways. I need to look into that, but I need to have the car flat and level on jacks or on the lift to do that. But that's definitely on the list because it's now at the time where it needs to be done. Again, Jaguar itself, the dealers don't want to do this. I've asked the dealer that I've brought the car first, and they say they just don't do this because they talk about the usual lifetime fluid thing, and when they're instructed by the brand, the main factory, not to do things, then they just don't do it. So it's very unfortunate, but your dealer workshop is not necessarily the best to maintain your car, especially when they get at a certain age where you want to do some preventative maintenance. They won't do it because it's just not on their roster, and they also don't want to be liable for damage to a transmission if like the main factory headquarters tell them not to do it. So it's actually such a simple thing, just to drop the pan, change out the fluid, fill it back up to the right level. Technically, for a workshop like an official Jaguar place, that's nothing, but they just don't do it. What's also on the list is some paint correction and some interior correction. So the paint is not in bad shape, but you can see it's been used. I don't know if everything comes up on the camera. There's a couple of marks and there's a couple of mini dents. Not many, but they're more so on there's a small one here. Then there is a bigger, like big-ish one on the rear right fender here. You can pop this out with the PDR paintless dent correction. And then here, these scratches happened recently. Unfortunately, they're not deep, but they're just scratches. And I'm looking into different sets of paint correction for exterior and interior. If you have a recommendation, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. The other thing I want to do, it's not as much visible on these tires because I have a different set for the winter tires. Same size, 19-inch, but different model, also from Jaguar. And the other ones are more scratched up. These ones here have some scratches here. This is also a recent one, so I want to correct this like I did on my kit wheels, kind of sand it down, fill up, sand it back to make it like nice and flush, and repaint the wheels, all of them probably, if I get the correct match of paint. Like these ones also need to be repainted, redone. This one is probably fine. This is the only one that's fine. On the winter wheels it's much worse. As far as the interior is concerned, honestly, apart from this section here of the driver's seat, and here obviously you get in and out, which has little cracks and marks of usage, all the other seats are in near perfect condition. So I'm going to give this a proper steam clean. I have a steam cleaner hoover for the carpets. For the dash, I'm not sure I'm going to do anything unless you're an upholsterer and you want to offer your services as a good deal to get this redone. But I'm not going to go through the effort of getting a fresh leather. It's basically going to be the price of the value of the car at this point. And then there's the question of whether I do more about the drivability of the car in terms of shocks and bushings and all of that. It probably wouldn't hurt to change the shock absorber, the struts, and maybe even the bushings of all the control arms. It will depend on how long I keep this car. If we decide to sell it, probably next year, then I'm not going to go through the trouble of doing all of that. If I keep it for myself, I might in time do that and kind of complete the series with all that. It would be nice just to go through the whole thing with the car and make it brand new again. But you'll see in the next videos also underneath, it looks really clean. That's also due to the fact that obviously it's a modern-ish car. Cars don't rust as easily anymore if you take a little bit care of them and rinse down the salt. There's a lot of plastic covers that also prevent dirt and moisture, or kind of really dirt to get to places where it shouldn't stay. So it's a really clean car nonetheless. One thing I will need to address over the next couple of months is the front brakes. Discs are getting kind of low, pads are still quite good, but I have inspection scheduled, our bi-yearly inspection, the mandatory ones, in February 2024. I will need to get the brakes. I will need to get the brakes changed by them. I'll do that myself and then make a video about it. Last but not least, there's a little annoying thing about this. It's coming actually from the intercooler, and the intercooler, kind of the outgoing hose, is connected to a plastic outlet, and there's a little crack in there, and every now and again you can smell kind of diesel fumes from the intercooler coming out into the cabin, which is actually really bad and toxic. It's not all the time, mostly on cold starts. I've kind of gone into my hands and tried to kind of patch it up with some RTV, but first of all, it's not a proper job. Second of all, it didn't really work that good. The intercooler is not that easily to see here. Basically, you have the radiator and you have the intercooler kind of combined together under this plastic cover, and it's all kind of cramped in there because obviously for this engine bay, the V6 diesel is a big engine. I know you can also have a V6, the 5 liter, the 4.2 in the first couple of years, and then the 5 liter V8 supercharged and whatnot in the XFR, and I believe they even made an XFRS. But this is cramped enough for me, and I'm gonna have to kind of remove the radiator and the intercooler as one unit, which means also draining the water, getting rid of, like, taking off the expansion reservoir, and that's a bigger job. So I'm hoping to get a solution for my quick jack soon, so I can actually lift this properly and get good access and remove everything, because that is something also I want to get fixed before February 2024. Anyhow guys, I hope you're excited about this new project of mine for this channel, my Jaguar XF S Portfolio V6 diesel, 275 horsepower. Wow. I love this car, I have to say. I really like it, and I hope I'll be able to tackle all the jobs I've set on my list to do for this car in the near future and share it properly with you on YouTube. Be happy for you to like if you liked, and even if you didn't like, just leave a comment. It'll help this video and help the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you soon. Bye.